Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 4205 Southeast Harrison Street here in Portland, located down in the basement. We're going to check the overall condition, serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. So adjacent to the basement bathroom here, right outside of it, you've got a 3-inch backflow valve. We're going to use as our point of access. We're going to check the overall condition, serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. Oops, here, zeroed out here. And we swap over to cast iron immediately upon access. These backflow preventers are very hard to eyeball diameter on. I swear most of them, even when they're in 4-inch pipe, which most of the homes from this era are typically 4-inch cast iron from the inception point, they're very hard to tell the diameter of. So if I were to wager a guess here, what we're actually in is 4-inch diameter pipe. Just given the size of the home, it's very uncommon to have 3-inch diameter pipe for these things. The backflow valves are just not one that visually they're very easy to tell. Right now the camera is upside down, if you didn't figure that out already. Superbly clean sewer line. We went through some cast iron there, but then right back over to ABS. Teeny tiny little bit of standing water we just went through there. That's going to drain out to almost nothing. And from the looks of it, this line looks like it was either drilled in or burst. You get some very nice sweeping turns there that are impossible to accomplish with a regular install. And we just transitioned to 3034 PVC. We might have some root nubbins sticking through that joint right there, right as we transition to concrete. 6-inch concrete at that, looks like. Yeah, you've definitely got some roots in the line there. We're going to try and locate that on the way out. And then now we're into 3034 PVC. I have a wonky set of turns there. And then there's the main lateral connection. So what we're going to do is I'm going to back the camera out. I'm going to pull the camera back to that transition to concrete to see where that resides. The line looks like it's going out to the side street. As you're facing the front door, the line looks like it's going out the left side of the house. I saw a curb stamp, plastic green marker right at the curb. But you've got some decent sized roots there plowing through the transition joint. So I'm going to park the camera right here on the transition. We'll see where we are currently. Alright, so just took a locate here. This is a hard one. Where I'm picking the locate up, I'm trying to position my camera head to get the antenna as close to that joint as possible. You can see I overshot it just a little bit. I'm picking this up. My locator is in the road, but the locate wand is right up against the face of the curb. The importance of that is if you take the update smack dab to the face of the curb, usually the city, this is my experience, the city will generally make that root intrusion the homeowner's problem. If you take that transition just past the face of the curb, you're into city responsibility. The hard part here is it is so darn close. These locators are accurate. I'm getting about 5 foot 9 inches deep here, 5'7". I trust these locators, but this one's a really hard call to make. It's so close. I don't know that I start trusting my locator down to the point of centimeters. They're very, very accurate, but when you get this close, it's a hard one. I don't know if this technically falls into homeowner responsibility or not. And you do indeed have a root intrusion. I'm not entirely sure why this random section of concrete pipe is left here. What I would recommend, because of the diameter, what you've got to work with here, if you can, you could do this trenchlessly by epoxy liner as long as I just don't know if this access point here is going to be large enough to accomplish that. The backflow preventer, but that's a really tough call to make. It's one where you almost want to have a second person come locate just to double check. But right now my locate wand is right up against the face of the curb. So, and that might be just barely past the face of the curb technically and may completely fall into city responsibility, but it is so darn close, it's a very hard call to make. Certainly once you get just beyond that point, you're going to be off into city territory there. But anyway, that is so close. In fact, what I'm going to do here really quick I'm going to push out just to the end of this piece of concrete here. And what makes it tricky too is you're kind of locating this thing on a turn. It's not an ideal situation for locating. Ideally, you're in a fairly straight shot when you do that. But you've got some large roots here. These are not roots you want to be messing with. And they look like they've been cut from the looks of it. They're so short at the joint, they look like they've been cut recently. So I have a sneaking suspicion this is not we're not getting a natural view of how they are. All right, and I've done my best there to mark that locate I just got there was certainly out in the roadway. I forgot to write down the full length of the line here. All right, so you'll see two X markings. One's right up against the curb, the other one's just a couple feet out in the road. There's a car parked very close to where I'm locating, so I don't want to put too much paint. I don't want to risk getting paint on their car. So you'll see two different X markings there. Getting around the 5'7", 5'8" deep mark. But it would be worth finding out. This line looks like it was fairly recently installed. You might be able to get pictures potentially from a contractor that installed it to see where they took that transition joint to. You can always contact the city as well and find out, get their thoughts on that. It's I don't know what happened there. It was a very wasted opportunity to update a very beat up piece of pipe there that's got some heavy duty root intrusions going on. And that I would certainly recommend repairing. My concern is those roots, they look like they've been cut. And it looks like you've got a big root mass there that got potentially cut loose but didn't get blown out of the line. But considering the size of that thing, I'm worried what that's going to turn into in time once it gets a chance to grow. All right, I went and just tried to locate there. There is, right next to the air conditioning unit, there's a clean out, but when you open it, it's got standing water in it. What it looks like is a storm system clean out that ties into the sewer. I was hoping to find a 4-inch access point in here in the event the homeowner's responsible for that. That's one that ideally you just ream the roots out of there really effectively and shoot an epoxy liner through there. In an ideal circumstance, that tree out there adjacent to the curb looks like it is doing all kinds of damage. And my concern is you fix the joint and roots plow back through it again. The beauty of liners, especially if you can do them right to where you can get them to overlap pipe joints, is you help to bolster the joints up against future root intrusions. That looks like one of those trees that's just going to be a recurring issue if that's not done. And sometimes you can do whatever you want to these things. Roots are a powerful force. And if they want to get through something, they often can. But there are some things you can do to help bolster the joints up in and around that area. But in a perfect world, you shoot a liner through a much larger section than just that joint, because those roots have quite a reach. And in a perfect world, you line probably 5 feet or more past the curb and probably 5 to 10 feet prior to it. You can see where the roots are beating up the sidewalk and lifting everything up. So they've got a big reach. So that is one I would highly recommend getting corrected. The root ball there is very large, and it's one that looks like it's been, I don't know for sure. It's just by the look of it, the way that they're super short at the joint and then really long after that. They look like they've been cut recently, and I'm worried that's going to turn into a much larger issue once they have a chance to grow. So if repairs do happen, I highly recommend rescoping to check the work. It's important to do that. And if no repairs are done for some reason, especially if it falls into the homeowner's territory, you at least want to get in there and ream those roots out and get them completely out of the line just to buy more time and help keep things free-flowing. Everything prior to that point looks fantastic. Both the ABS 3034 and cast iron, all of it's in great shape. Has good flow all the way to that point. Once you're past the root intruded concrete pipe, all that pipe looks good too.